who reach to us. And the next is the related institutions, including corporates and aid agencies. So you found your entrepreneur, and the next thing you need to do is to build the muscle of entrepreneurship, which is actually a process. In this process, we actually work with them on idea generation, opportunity evaluation, planning, formalization and formation of the entity, launch and growth. And for that, we need catalysts, right? We need catalysts like incubator, which we do already. Then we do CSOs and NGOs who work primarily on making sure that we can support women entrepreneurs through this. Government through NRLM, NULM, Industries and Commerce, Startup India, among others, financial institutions and corporates, isn't it? And the last thing we do, okay, you found the entrepreneur, you have inculcated the muscle of entrepreneurship in them. And the last step, an entrepreneur is only successful when they create it's right there, man, enterprise. When you create the enterprise. And in this, we need to make sure that there is a physical entity. It is not just something we keep talking about on a PowerPoint. And there is also a scope for creating employment. The reason all of us are now working on incubators and funds and all that is to make sure that we can create more employment. And we also create a pathway for profit and also sustainability of the entity. And in that, for support and scaling, we have financial institutions, governments, corporates, non-profit CSOs, accelerators and incubators. So for one idea to get to an actual enterprise, these many things are needed. And imagine in the case of an entrepreneur who is underestimated, I will not say disadvantaged, underprivileged, whatever, they are just underestimated. If they are underestimated, how do they actually get access to all these things? How will they do it? And the only way to do it is actually technology. To understand this better, what we did at AgHub, it is actually a quantitative survey that we did. We actually had about 90 stakeholders from various government departments, women organizations, and also entrepreneurs from across sector and scale come and talk to us. When we actually discussed what are the key challenges that you guys face to make sure that you can actually create a business, the first thing that the government actually said, and when I say government, it is not AgHub. It is actually the departments, the banks and everybody who have so many schemes and opportunities that exist. The first thing that they said is that the identification of women entrepreneurs itself is a key challenge. Who is a woman entrepreneur? Who is it? Where do we find them? Is somebody who's trading a women entrepreneur? Is somebody doing services a women entrepreneur? Who is somebody who is a hobbypreneur, homepreneur, mompreneur, flexipreneur, and all these jargons are the entrepreneurs. How do they actually identify it? That was the first question. The second thing, I was just talking to my very good friend, a brilliant entrepreneur called Deepya, who you'll be hearing from in the next panel, who is an amazing entrepreneur who has, I have seen her grow over the past 5 years from she's dairy entrepreneur. But now she has a huge farm and she's actually done something on the scale of Amul itself. She's created an automated unit. And the best part is, she was asking me, are there any schemes that are available for us? She's invested her own money, she's taken credit by herself. So, but when we talk to the government, they say that we have these amazing schemes, 10 crores, 50 crores, 1,000 crores. Where are the entrepreneurs? They are not reaching the right audience, right ma'am? And the third important thing, lack of forward and backward linkages. So let's say we have a brilliant non-profit who is being funded by some aid agency to upskill 50 women, right? The 50 women are upskilled. But then, among those 50 women, what is the next step for them? Who is going to help them? Because this non-profits entities work ends at supporting those 50 women being upskilled in something. So then one more non-profit or some, let's say AgHub only, government entity comes, I have a mandate now to take these 50 women who are upskilled and making them as self-employed, which means that we'll make sure that they're able to get some additional grant to do some small home-based entity, right? And then there is one more entity which comes and says, we need high potential women entrepreneurs who have created 10 jobs or more, and we are looking for some people. So then these 50 women, out of which who have been helped by a non-profit, had a 2-year gap in their skill, who have been helped by, let's say, AgHub, and then they'll be supported by the third entity. But in this entire journey, whether we realize it or not, out of the 50 women who are upskilled, no more than 3 women remain. So we've lost 47 women along the way because we have so many gaps that exist in the system. And it is all of our doing. Because when we try to do entrepreneurship, innovation, whatever else we do, we feel that whatever we do is enough. And we need to be better than some entity who is doing that. Instead of that, if we try to work with each of us to make sure that there is a focused approach on the journey of the entrepreneur themselves and not the journey of the incubator, that is when I think we can have more and more entrepreneurs scaling up. Anyway, so coming back to this, the lack of forward and backward linkages to scale the entrepreneurial growth, these were the analysis of the consultations. And the recommendation was quite simple. Why can't we have one place, as Wes, madam, was talking about just before me, why can't we have one place where any entrepreneur, and in AgHub's case, any women entrepreneur from across the state, irrespective of the language barriers, irrespective of her education, and irrespective of knowing anybody in the government, can get all the support that they need. And they suggested that we create something known as a single window mechanism. And this is what we announced on the 8th of March this year. And the main reason and the key pillars for the single window, number one, democratization of entrepreneurship. I understand that I'm speaking in English here today, but when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's become very jargonized, isn't it? When you initially, as not an entrepreneur, when I first met somebody who is an investor, they said, who is your seed investor, who is your angel investor, who is your supporting, who is your mentor, who is your technical advisor, and all that. There is so much jargon that we leave a lot of people behind. So the first thing this will do is to make sure that there is a democratization of entrepreneurship, to make sure we kind of create entrepreneurs from across the country, but not just from the urban areas. The second thing, standardized framework. Today when we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship, I understand innovation cannot be boxed in. I understand entrepreneurship cannot be boxed in. But how do you standardize what entrepreneurship or innovation can be? The third thing is end-to-end targeted and heterogeneous interventions. The reason we say this, remember Kavya's story? For her to go from an idea to an actual business, it took 7 steps. But it was good that, we were also just starting out, so we were willing to experiment. But how does everybody get the same end-to-end support? And the fourth thing is bridging the gap across the various stakeholders, so that anybody who comes in with an idea will get access to the entire ecosystem. Let's say you want to get access to credit, we can be the ones talking to a bank, things like that. And last and most important is promoting women entrepreneurs as role models for the local community and the country. And the 3 components that will be there in this single window. Number 1 is V certification. Right? Are you following me so far? Awake so far? Really? Really? Okay, fine. So anyway, so the first thing we'll be doing is something known as V certification, wherein we'll be bucketing the women entrepreneurs. I told you we met more than 10,000 people to meet Kavya, but over the past 5 years we met more than 35,000 women. And all of these women are at different stages of their entrepreneurship journey. And one more big challenge when it comes to women entrepreneurship is that when you look at a woman or a group of women who are in business, without seeing at what stage they are, we club them as women entrepreneurs have come. I'm not saying it is a good or bad thing, but if you look at somebody who is only happy by being a self-employed person because that fits her lifestyle, why are we combining her in the same bucket as somebody who's trying to make 5 crores turnover a year? How do we make sure we create role models within women entrepreneurs itself? So that is what this V certification will do. The second thing we've come up with is something known as V Bridge, which is actually a support mechanism for fiscal and non-fiscal entities. And in this, there will be a physical as well as an online single window. And last and most important thing is V-Equip. And the purpose for V-Equip is to make sure that we can do all the programs that are needed to do the gap filling and ensure that more entrepreneurs can go from one level to the other. So this is how your V certification will work. I have just been told that category D is not a good thing apparently in the academic system. So we have 4 categories here. The first is the aspiring entrepreneurs. These are entrepreneurs who have been skilled, who are still at self-employed stage and may or may not have interest to scale. And the next category is micro enterprises. The women like, I think ma'am was just showing us, Sanchita ma'am was showing, what was the lady's name? Mira, who has immense potential to scale, but is at a very nascent stage. The next is category B. These are women who are running some disorganized business. Let's say like Kavya that you've seen, who has potential to scale and create a lot of employment for everybody. And last is category A. These are women like Deepya, Maya, Shilpa and everybody who have immense potential to become role models for everybody else. So that is the first thing we are doing. And when we do this, we will actually make sure that more and more women will actually have professional identity and also evangelize role models to enable more women to create entrepreneurship. Next is VBridge. As I've mentioned, it's a fiscal and non-fiscal support mechanism. And the key thing that we have here is a physical single window platform. So every month on, let's say, a third Saturday, we'll be having a physical office at AgHub where all the departments will be there. Taxation, industries, IT, whatever else you need, everybody will be there so that you don't have to ever step into any office again. And this is all also done, and we also are creating a consultative committee. What we mean by that is that, let's say you're a woman from some tribal area or something, and you've been told that you have to apply for some incentives in industries department. For somebody to travel 7 hours to get 2 minutes with a government officer does not make sense, does it? No, right? So what she can do is she can file her grievance on the portal in whichever way, and everything is very gamified on the app that we are hoping to create, so that she can file in the complaint, and we will fix it between 21 days. And the last thing is Equip, which is the interventions that will be there, and these are the different interventions that are at every stage. And the main reason for doing all this is very, very simple. The more we decentralize what we do at a state level, the better it is. So we are going to be creating a district level ecosystem. The second thing is targeted interventions by all departments to collectively scale women entrepreneurs. Today, if you have to find women entrepreneurs in the tier 2 spaces, madam, we have to work with NRLM, NULM, we have to work with the local DAO, DU and all the kinds of officials. So with this, we make sure that there is only one platform, and there is also a resolution of grievances at the local level, and demarcating of entrepreneurs per sector and scale, and creation of a state map. Today, if you look at Telangana, we have been told that there are 66,000 MSMEs by women. If we look at SRLM data, we are told that we have more than 3 lakh women-owned enterprises in the state. Stop nodding, Maya. 3 lakh women-owned enterprises in the state. How good are those numbers? Are they real? Are they not? So anyway, what we are hoping is through this, we can actually make sure that we can give a professional identity for any entrepreneur anywhere in the state, and we have actuals so that we can support them in creating entities which can actually scale. And last and most important thing, the purpose of any technological intervention is only simple. It is to make sure that more and more people are included. So the last step that we hope will happen is promoting inclusivity in women entrepreneurship among socio-economic, education and cultural strata. So this is the broad thing that we are hoping that we can do through this single window platform. And the main reason that we are speaking here is that we hope that all of you also work with us on this, because a platform or an online platform is only as good as the number of people who use it. So we seek all your support in making this something which can be sustainable and scalable, not to make sure that WeHub is a big thing, but to make sure that every entrepreneur is treated as an entrepreneur and not a women entrepreneur. And we are able to give every entrepreneur that is on the portal an actual name. So if you look at our data also, we don't use plus or anything. We make sure that we know every number on the form, because every number that we showcase on our presentation is an actual person. So I'm hoping that this will create a lot more human interaction through this online platform. So thank you so much, Kalpana ma'am, for giving the opportunity. And if there are any questions, we can talk later. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deepti. Please wait. Thank you very much for sharing your insightful views for women entrepreneurs and also energizing us all by showing the success stories of WeHub. I'm sure all of us enjoyed it thoroughly. As a token of appreciation from PJTSAU, I request Dr. Kalpana. Okay, Dr. Tadas. So it's a pleasure to invite Mr. Tadas of the task force. Welcome, sir. So I request you to kindly... Yes, from the T20 group. So it's a token of thanks from us at PJTSAU. Thank you very much, Deepthi, and thank you, Mr. Tadas, for doing the honors. We now move on to the next part of today's session, that is the panel discussion. I now invite onto the dais the moderator of today's panel discussion, Ms. Mukta Sharma. She is an entrepreneur, kindly. She is an entrepreneur enabler, project management mentor and coach. Presently, she is with Startup Ecosystem and she is also consultant for AgHub PJTSAU. Just give a brief introduction of her to you all. Then she will take over and call the panelists and introduce them and conduct the session. So she has 25 years and more of experience across different functions and verticals with operational excellence, enabling innovation, managing end-to-end funding, partnership engagement and outreach for startups, innovation ecosystem. And she dons many hats. She was a founding partner and later a solo entrepreneur for over a decade in the space of L&D and hiring for My Venture. And she was with IMBX, L&D, and she has given voiceovers to characters in English, Kannada, Hindi, and soft skills, many things to her credit. So it's a pleasure. Ms. Mukta, please take over.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have a very warm and invigorating session, both by the previous panelists, Dr. Sanchita as well as Ms. Deepthi. Pleasure to have you both and hear out the wonderful work that both your firms are carrying forward. I would now love to invite the first panelist for today, Deepya Reddy, co-founder of Absolute Milk. Warm welcome to you. So she hails from an IT background, and believe me, she's busting myths out here. So if you think of a woman who says, can we talk tech, are you the one I'm going to speak to? Then yeah, she's exactly the one that you'd want to speak to. So she took interest in the food processing industry, observed the lack of pure dairy products in the market, and that's why she set up her own farm and has taken the dairy deliverables to the utmost nutritional levels. We'll hear how as we continue with the panel discussions. I'd now like to invite Ms. Maya Vivek. Warm welcome to you. She's the founder of Holy Waste. She's one of the co-founders of Holy Waste, and I think going by the name you all must have figured that there's something holy about the waste here. So flowers and other such waste is used for different products, one of them being compost, right? And incense sticks and soaps, all right? And why did she start Holy Waste? It's really very interesting. She says she watched a video on social networking site on a floral waste recycling venture in North India, and that inspired her to start this initiative. And she says, I don't have very lofty ideals of all the SDGs, but believe me, when you start working on what really makes sense, at the end of the day you realize without even your knowledge that you are consciously or unconsciously contributing to SDGs, and that's how we have her here on the panel. Warm welcome to you. And I would now like to invite Mr. Emmanuel Murray, Investment Director, Caspian. He has over 40 years of rich and diverse experience in agriculture and rural credit. Warm welcome, sir. And micro-enterprise finance, including the head of operations of an impact-focused NBFC, managing a portfolio of over INR 6 billion. It's really wonderful. He's currently focusing on working to build the food and agri startup ecosystem. Wonderful to have you here. And we will have some specific questions on investment and democratization, especially for women. But yes, I will go to that in a bit. And while we do that, we have Ms. Anasuya Ben from Seva team. Please come in. She's come in all the way from Ahmedabad, and she takes care and has products for women, let's say for the household, but from women. And she's from the very inspiring Seva team. And I think I must say that they've kind of swept the whole, awards in a way. There are no awards here for guessing, but what I meant is in terms of the work that they're doing. So she's come all the way from Ahmedabad, right? And Sanchita is also from there, Dr. Sanchita. Now we also have Thinlis Korol. She's come all the way from any places. I know, I was just thinking, while it's sweltering heat outside, Ladakh is known for very different weather. So Thinlis, thank you so much for coming over here. We will switch a little to a Desi language. We'll get on to Hindi because it's also a little comfortable sometimes. So you'll see a few spurts of that in between. Right? So she is the founder of Ladakhi Women's Travel Company, and she's a native from Ladakh and from the village of Takamachik. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's from the Sham region, and it's the first professionally trained female trekking guide. So with that, with very, very variant experience and some fantastic founders here, I would like to begin the discussion saying, you've heard from the speakers in the beginning, what are the challenges that you face as a woman? आपको अलग क्या लगता है? Ansuya Ben, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे कि आपके challenges अलग कैसे हैं? While I will not say that the challenges are specific to women, but I think in the kind of sector that they would be working in. बताइए, हिंदी में बोलिए.
हाँ, मेरा नाम अंसुया है. मैं अहमदाबाद गुजरात से हूँ और मेरा वही काम था कि एक पशुपालन और खेत मजदूर बहन थी, लेकिन जब मुझे सेवा के साथ जुड़ी तब मुझे इतना मेरा शक्ति विकास हुआ कि मुझे पता ही नहीं चला. लेकिन जब मैं सेवा से नहीं जुड़ी थी तब मेरा कोई घर से बाहर भी नहीं निकल सकती थी और कुछ समझ में नहीं आता था कि मैं क्या करूं. लेकिन सेवा के साथ जुड़ी तब मेरे बहुत सारी चीज़ें सीखना मिली और अभी भी मैं बहुत सारे काम कर रही हूँ कि जैसे कि रूढ़ी का भी काम करती हूँ. रूढ़ी में भी काम करती हूँ. लेकिन जैसे रूढ़ी का मतलब होता है कि
it's called spices basically. So yeah, रूढ़ी is another word for spices. बोलिए.
हाँ, एक रूढ़ी से मैं जुड़ी हुई हूँ. आगेवान बहन तरीके से मैं काम कर रही हूँ. जैसे कि रूढ़ी की शुरुआत हुई तब से मैं रूढ़ी बहन की हैसियत से काम कर रही हूँ. जो रूढ़ी का मतलब होता है कि हर्बल डेवलपमेंट इंस्टीट्यूट, और हमारे गुजरात में रूढ़ी का अर्थ होता है कि सुंदर, रूपाळू और ब्यूटीफुल. रूढ़ी की शुरुआत हमारे 2004 में से हुई. रूढ़ी का मेन उद्देश्य वही है कि गांव के किसानों को मेन बाजार के साथ जोड़ना है और बिचौलियों को दूर करना है, क्योंकि किसान अगर सीधा ही बाजार से जुड़ा होता है तो पूरा दाम मिलेगा. इसीलिए पूरे सप्लाई चेन हमने बनाई है जिसमें गांव का पैसा गांव में रहेगा और गांव बहनों को रोजगारी मिलेगी. हजारों हमारी रूढ़ी प्रोसेसिंग सेंटर किसानों के पास से सामान खरीदता है. गांव की बहनों के साथ में रह के गाँव की बहनों के पास से सफाई करवाते हैं, वजन करवाते हैं, पैकेजिंग करवाते हैं और वही बहनों को रोजगारी मिलती है. इन सभी कामों में हमारी बहनें जुड़ी रहती है. इन बहनों को तैयार करने के लिए हमारे एक प्रतिनिधि चुना है. वो गांव के किसानों के पास जाके क्वालिटी देखता है और अनाज और मसाला खरीदते हैं और बहनों को रोजगारी देता है. जैसे कि जो मैंने पहले बोला कि रूढ़ी में कैसे क्या काम करना है, तो रूढ़ी में जैसे किसानों के साथ से हम अनाज खरीदते, मसाला खरीदते, उन्हीं का प्रोसेसिंग करते हैं और बहनों को रोजगारी देते हैं. इस तरह से हम सभी बहनों को रोजगारी मिलती है और इस तरह से हमें उन्हीं को जुड़ना रहते हैं। मैं एक बेकरी ट्रेनर भी हूँ। वो हमारी बेकरी में 5 शाखाएँ और हज़ारों 10,000 से 500 से लाखों की बिक्री करते हैं। इसे 100 से 1500 बहनों को हमने रोजगारी दिए। जैसे कि मैं पहला एक खेत मजदूर बहन थी और पशुपालन बहन थी, उन्हीं की साथ साथ मैंने सेवा के साथ रहकर सेवा में जो प्रोजेक्ट आया, इसमें से मैंने फ्रूट प्रोसेसिंग की ट्रेनिंग के साथ बेकरी की ट्रेनिंग ली और अभी मैं एक बेकरी शेफ हूँ। जैसे जो हम खाते हैं बेकरी की चीज़ें, तो वहाँ से हमने मैदे की चीज़ मिलती है, पर जब हम बेकरी की मैंने ट्रेनिंग ली और मैं सेवा से एक हमारा सेंटर खड़ा किया और वहाँ पे मैं सभी चीज़, जैसे कि बेकरी में जो चीज़ मिलती है, कुकीज़ मिलता है, पाव बन, ब्रेड, पिज़्ज़ा बेस, अलग अलग का रोल्स मिलता है, क्रीम रोल बनता है, खारी बनती है, वो सब मैं विट में से बनाती हूँ और मैं बेचती भी हूँ और सिखाती भी हूँ। और मैंने सेवा के अलग अलग प्रकार की ट्रेनिंग ली है, जैसे कि प्रोसेसिंग की, पैकेजिंग की, कॉस्टिंग की, मार्केटिंग की, वो सब ट्रेनिंग लेके मैंने बेकरी में जो हमारी बहनें आती है वो सभी को ट्रेनिंग लिए। राज्यों में मैं जाके भी ट्रेनिंग देती हूँ। जैसे कि मैं बाहर राज्यों में जाती हूँ तो राज्यों में मैंने 400 से 500 बहनों को ट्रेनिंग दी है और वो बहनों को भी सिखा के उन्हीं के पग पर खड़े करके उन्हीं को रोजगारी मिलने की ताकत दी है मैंने। और जब मैंने जब पहले मैं सेवा से नहीं जुड़ी थी तब मेरी तनख्वाह 1000 से 1200 रुपये थी, लेकिन जब मैं सेवा से आके मेरी तनख्वाह अभी 15,000 से 18,000 हुई है। तो मुझे सेवा मेरे बहुत अच्छी लगती है। सेवा माय मदर, सेवा इज़ ग्रेट।
Thank you so much. Wonderful to hear to you. Deepya, I have a question for you. I was wondering, I mean, when you're talking about, the kind of a sector that you're in, you said that you busted a lot of myths. Could you share a little about what you've been doing differently? And what do you think the way, going further, I'm talking about what could be a model that's emerging probably since we've taken presidency in G20 from Indonesia and again going to carry this further. So what is the kind of a model that you have been working on and how is it going to be different? And do you think somewhere this can percolate down to many other entrepreneurs across? So I'd like you to share a little on that, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mukta. So first and foremost, it gives me immense pleasure to talk on this platform today because my dad is an alumni of this very same university. He did his MBSc, Masters in Veterinary Sciences and PhD in Poultry Sciences, and he was a gold medalist in the same university. So it gives me great pleasure to be talking to his college today. As I said, when it comes to the food sector, today everybody is talking about we are going back to roots, going back to what is organic, going back to what is pure, authentic, and things like that. And when terms like pure, authentic, natural come into existence, what we all feel is when technology comes in, adds to those, we are removing the authenticity of that product. Or, we are in a way corrupting the product and we are taking away the natural beauty of the product. It's not always like that. See, technology, if used in the right way, it will always enhance the quality of the product, be it even food. It's not necessary that if you apply technology, it is one myth, especially when you come to dairy industry and agriculture, be it the way in which not to put in that way, the marketing firms, the PR firms, just to sell your product at a higher price or something like that. Now we are talking like, no, this is absolutely organic, this is untouched and what. What exactly is organic? That is something what our earlier ancestors, what they used to do. Anything that is grown in the natural way. But now today we are applying some technology to the existing things and we are saying they are much more better. Is it true or is it a myth? There's always say, but I would definitely say it's a myth. Like take for example, dairy sector. I would, because I'm from dairy sector, I have a farm and a processing unit as well. Because when we say dairy sector, people would think, we just have cattle, you milk the cow, we are giving milk in untouched form, that's the purest form. Needn't exactly be that way all the time. Because earlier, the weather, the surroundings, the pollution, all these factors have a very big role in our food. Like earlier, we would grow plants outside, and the air was clean, everything was clean, so the output would be clean. But now the source itself is not clean. So you can't the products that we produce nowadays, be it our food produce or be it our dairy produce, the reason we have to add technology and process it is to enhance it so that it becomes pure, so that we can consume it. You're not removing the original quality of it. So like that, when you comes to my dairy plant, I'll give you a very basic example. You get a packet of milk every morning. What does a mom do? She boils it on the stove and she makes coffee or tea, you make curd and you give it to them. This boiling process is just a very layman process what every mother or everybody would do in the house. But it's actually a technical process where you boil the milk to remove the microbials, so you make it free of the bacteria and you give it to the kids. But this boiling, I'll tell you again, like let's say it's getting late for your bus or your college time, your college bus is coming, you would shout, "Mom, where is my milk?" She would immediately boil it within a minute and she would give it to the kids. And one day when she has a lot of time, she would boil the same milk for, half an hour and, achhe se milk ko she can make it a nice kova and she'll give it to you. So this layman process of boiling the milk is nothing but pasteurization. You're pasteurizing the milk. Whereas in a factory, the same boiling happens in factory conditions. Whether your bus is getting late or whether your bus is on time, whether your mommy got up early or late, it doesn't matter. So the reason why we take technology and we pasteurize the milk is that, you boil to a particular temperature, then you give it instant shock, it comes down. So your milk is pasteurized in the right way. So there you're applying technology to the basic thing which you do every day. So technology using enhances the quality of food. This is a very basic example. Like, pasteurization is one example. There's something called when you go to foreign countries, another example in milk. You would say, हमारे यहाँ ना दूध में एक smell आता है. How come यहाँ दूध में वो smell नहीं आता है? It's a very common question when people come to me, they ask. So it's a very simple thing. Again, technology. In most of our dairy farms, there's something called aerator. It's a small machine which you just add that step at the RTM. RTM is the raw milk reception deck. You just add aerator. It will remove the milk. It will suck out that smell from the milk. So all these are just small things which you add to your daily process, and it would enhance the quality. It's not reducing. That is the first part of your question, where you said, does actually adding technology reduce the quality? No, it depends. The way in which, again, there are cases where you over implement the technology in a way to make the business profitable. Yeah, definitely in those cases, it would affect the life cycle of the food or the quality of the food. Then coming to the second part of the question, we as entrepreneurs, we have businesses, we set up businesses, and if I would come and sit here and say, no, my business, I'm thinking all about the environment, I'm thinking only about the society, I want to give good food to the people, that's why I've opened a business. Would you all believe it? Is it possible? Can I run my business like that? At the end of the day, I need money to run my business, right? So even for me to sit today, see, people only listen to people who are in success. Nobody listens to a loser. Arey, wo loser hai, kuch bhi bolta rehta hai. That's what we would naturally say. So when it comes only out of a person who's successful, we would also listen with attention. To sit on this podium to make my business successful also, there are few things which I need to follow as an entrepreneur. But in this process, it doesn't mean you have to neglect the SDGs, what you're talking about. Involuntarily, I might not be doing these steps so that I need to do for the betterment of the society or the SDG, but today we all are conscious entrepreneurs. So we all have been hit with something called a very big pandemic in our lives. Our lives changed overnight. What was that? COVID, right? So after that, our perspective of looking at food, our perspective of looking at life changed. So as conscious entrepreneurs also, now when we are establishing new plans or new businesses, we are trying to make our businesses profitable, but at the same time, we are also involving few processes and steps like where the machinery that we are adding. Like for example, I recently added a refrigeration unit. I could have used ammonia or glycol. If somebody is doing instrumentation, you might have this idea. See, glycol is costlier. When I established that machinery, ammonia is cheaper. Because to start the machine, if I use ammonia, it will take 14 to 15 hours. So I have to burn electricity for 14 to 15 hours. What happens? More carbon imprint, right? I'm polluting the atmosphere. But whereas if I use glycol, the machine starts instantly in 30 minutes. But my initial investment is more. Here if I invest 1 lakh, for this I have to invest 10 lakhs. But here there are two advantages. It would be false if I say I did this only for the betterment of the environment. No. I did it because it would be less carbon in plant, because I wanted my organization to be a green unit. So when I say my organization is a green unit, even at the overall level, I would get a good name to my company. So entrepreneurs today should consciously take decisions where it is useful for their business, and at the same time, whatever we can do from our side, because we are not have opened a charity, ma'am. Let's be very open with that. So at the same time, we should be able to balance both, is what I would feel. Yep.
Thank you so much for wearing a very, courageous hat. What do you think we're doing differently, and how can we take it for other developing countries in the G20 ring to, adapt to what we are doing in a way? So is this something that different that Holy Waste has been doing?
Yeah, thanks Mukta, and good afternoon all of you. Just to give you a brief, very, very briefly on Holy Waste. Holy Waste is a brand that we started under the umbrella of, Urvi Sustainable Concepts. So 2019 is when we started Urvi. And the idea was that we will work on projects which will bring together disadvantaged communities and any component of waste. So basically we were looking at how, so the tagline that we use is redefining waste. So basically we are looking at how waste can become a resource, how waste can be used as a tool to generate sustainable livelihoods. And it was that, Holy Waste, in fact Holy Waste came before Urvi actually. We started Holy Waste. Now, how did that name come about, for example? The moment you see any kind of waste, what's the first expression that comes out? It's holy. Okay, so so what's holy today becomes waste tomorrow. We are looking at bringing back that cycle. We are looking at turning back that needle to making it holy again. And holy doesn't necessarily mean anything which is worshipped or whatever, but then anything which is nice, pure, which is sustainable. So that's the idea of Holy Waste, and we started working with floral waste. Now, with floral waste, what we understood was we wanted to work with communities that were at a disadvantage. Now, how disadvantaged? Maybe in terms of socio-economic status, maybe in terms of physical, capabilities, maybe in terms of mental capabilities. Any of these are or even, like I mentioned, by physical or all the three. So any of these are disadvantages when you do not have what is considered to be normal. So at Holy Waste, we work with women. At Holy Waste, we work with people with mental disabilities. At Holy Waste, of course, right now we do not have anybody with who is differently abled physically, but of course we are open to that as well. Now, how are we aligned to SDGs? Honestly, when I started, I had no clue about SDGs other than, attending such kind of symposiums or seminars or going through the UN charters and learning about SDGs. And these were lofty ideals that, we have or we talk about. When I set out to do a business, all I thought was, okay, here is a business idea where I want to intertwine waste and a disadvantaged community and come up with products which are, and all the nature of the business is going to be ethical, conscious, and recycled. These are the three pillars on which Urvi currently stands, or Holy Waste currently stands. And all our products are made in the framework of all these three ideals. And chalte, as they say, years when we really looked at what we were doing, and by the time, 21, when the markets opened and we started selling our product, and when I actually started making pitches, that is when SDG hit into my head. When I looked at the impact that I was creating, or Holy Waste was creating, that is when, the SDG ka keeda really hit me. And I realized that chalte, we were actually working on 4 SDGs already. So, SDG 9, 11, 12, and 13, we were just there. We were already doing it. Furthermore, what we also understood was, all the disadvantaged communities, or specifically women, we are here to talk or celebrate women entrepreneurship. What we realized in Holy Waste was that, women, if given the right kind of environment, Okay. Now, when I say right kind of environment, one thing that I had to unlearn after 2 decades of being a freight forwarding professional in an MNC, in a couple of MNCs, was the very idea of work. What is it to mean work or industry, working hours and stuff like that? See, it needn't be like that. I mean, let us also feminize these concepts. Let us make feminine normal. Let us make, sensitivity, the emotional part of life, normal. Rather than, a professional has to be unattached, unemotional, has to deal with everything professionally in such and such way. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. I mean, all that of course, I mean, there are talks of, or there are results that all of us are looking forward to. There is profitability all of us are looking forward to. But it needn't necessarily be the masculine way. It needn't necessarily be the industrialized as we see it, or as we have, got to know about it. Okay? So what we realized was there were women who were not really employed. I'm sorry if this is making you yawn in any way, but what I'm trying to come to is that, make you understand why we are talking of women entrepreneurship separately. Why is it even an important term today? Okay, so there is a section of women, for example, there is a section of women in urban, rural, anywhere, who are employable. Take your, sisters who are married. Take your bhabis who have come into your houses. Take your chachi, mami, whoever are in the age group of, say, 25 to 50 years old. Okay? All these who do not go out and work. Okay? All these are women who might be well educated, who have in them to become economic beings or economic contributors. But what is happening is we really do not see them in the employment circle or in the employed population of all the census data. Okay, why? Mainly because they do not get the conducive atmosphere to come out and work. Because working hours are strictly 8 hours, there are overtimes, there is Saturday to work, there is Sunday to work, overtime hota hai, maternity leave itna hi hota hai. These kind of, if I may call it, insensitive towards women workforce, these are the things that keep women away from the normal workforce. But at Holy Waste we realized if we were to give them a working hours, say between 10 to 3 maybe, where they have finished all their, because you need to understand where those workforce is coming from, where this workforce is coming from, what are the problems they have to come to work, what are the challenges they have to overcome to even come to work. So we realized that, if we were able to tweak these things a little bit, make our working hours 10 to 3 maybe, so the woman has finished her, familial jobs, she has sent her children to school, she has given her husband the required dabba and said the bye-byes, and, she has cooked for her in-law, she has taken care of her ailing mother-in-law. Ye sab karne ke baad, she has that good 3 to 4 or 5 to 6 hours of time, which otherwise she would have lost in Saas Bahu serials, or community gossips, or some bit of embroidery, nahi to abhi to reels, right? Which we at this point, our women come to the factory during these hours, and she is able to earn anything between 9 to 12,000 rupees. So this is the kind of changes that Mukta, we were trying to bring in, and like I said, the moment, and like what Deepya also told, the moment your ideals are clear, the moment your basics are clear on what is the business you want to do, how you want to do it, you are actually walking the SDG road.
Absolutely. I totally agree on that. So initially we started off with setting an expectation that we are not looking at SDGs, but that's not the point here. What we are trying to do is when you're doing it the right way, you are creating an impact, right? Societally. And so if you say, if you look at it, any SDG is actually the way the economy's growth is measured, right? So if you look at all the 17...
may I add one more? There's a very, just to give you a perspective. For example, we started in 2019 with just 2 women, and by 2021, just before the second season of COVID, we were actually employing 12 women, out of whom 8 women had actually opened their bank accounts for the first time in their lives.
Wow.
For the first time in their lives. So that's the kind of impact that we had created unknowingly, actually, or rather unplanned. Not about unknowingly, but inadvertently, unplanned. This is the kind of impact. So that's why I told you that, 4 SDGs goals, we were already tackling.
Right.
I would like just add one to this. As she was saying, 8 people had just opened the bank account. Same thing like when we, as you said, this 4 SDGs. There's a village near a farm called Thandur. There are like 4 to 5 pottery villages. Pottery means it's the traditional business that they have been doing for years together. So the only source for their income was during the Ugadi time. The companies would come, they would give them a batch of order and they would give them pots. And that was their earning livelihood for the entire year. Who is using pots nowadays? Hardly summer ke wo 2-3 mahine, they used to come and take. So in our business, we use dahi pots. We don't use plastic at all. So we used to make dahi in pots, clay pots. So we went to these villages. We adopted 5 villages and we buy our pots through them. Now today, every family is making 40 to 50,000 per month. So the zero hunger concept of your SDGs is covered over there. 40 to 50 families, they are called, these villages are near Thandur in our local Telangana. There are 4 to 5 villages.
I was just going to ask you, where are these villages?
Near Thandur, these villages are there, around 5 to 6 pottery villages. They're predominantly pottery villages. And until I had my unit there, I went and met, I didn't even know. Now they are making 40, 50,000. And recently one of the potters family, they joined, the son is engineering and all. So these are, as she said, indirect effects that we are creating through this. Yep.
That's fantastic. So economic empowerment, women and empowerment, livelihoods, better livelihoods are being created.
And sustainable community team.
And sustainable
communities, because once they are, because that entire community is the village pottery community, and their villages become sustainable now, and now they're sending their kids to school. True. Sustainable society.
True. Thank you so much. Over to Mr. Emmanuel. So I wanted to ask you, being a part of investment and looking at all these women talk and the impact that they're making. Of course, it's just a sample, but I'm sure there are lots more out there.